Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of The Outpost. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Okay, things are kind of looking bad on all fronts. Well, first and foremost, we get like a little time rewind as we kind of see Yavala confronting Talon's dad. So it seems like we finally got a time frame of, oh, that was 4 months ago, meaning he was stuck like that for 4 months. But basically, and it also answered a question whether I had about like how that thing worked, like whether it was a slow death or it's like, no, it's pretty damn instant. Moment he touch you, you're dead. Because I was wondering what Corvin's whole thing was, but it seems like it was from a poisonous snake that was sealed away with the White Kinge. And so the poison started affecting him. So it was this rare poison that ended up being him. Because I was wondering if it was the Death Kinge and maybe she, I was wondering if Ren had gotten to him in time or something like that. But yeah, we kind of find out that Yavala had left him there, and Corvin was left behind too, and she's like, yeah, so hopefully your death isn't painful, and hopefully you don't suffer for too long. And she bounced and left him, and he was like, come on, dude, you have to save me so I can stop Yavala. But he kept going, because despite her abandoning him in that moment, I guess for him it's like, I literally watched you kill everyone else. I'm not going to go near you just for you to end up killing me because of this. But it's like, maybe if he had, maybe things would have been different. Who knows? But now, present day, Talon having to inform him, I'm your daughter. And it's like, because at first it's like, my wife would have never let anyone through. It's like, she's dead along with everyone. And it's like, only person left, it was passed on to your daughter, Talon, and that's me. And for him, it's just kind of, it's probably, he's been here so long, because he's been here well over 13 years, because the way he talks about it, I think he had said that Talon's brother hadn't even been born yet at that time, when he left for the Plains of Ashes. So we know it's been 13 years, at least at that time it was like 13 years since the Bones came and killed our entire village. So you probably subtract, he's been probably going at most maybe like 20 years or something like that. He's been living in a Plain of Ashes, kind of separated from everybody because he needed to keep his distance. It's much like I thought it was, like why he abandoned his family. It's like, because he's had the Black Kinge the entire time, and it's like, if I stay, especially because these are your kids, they might not understand, like, oh, why can't I touch dad? So he didn't want to hurt anyone, because she's like, you could have at least stayed in a room. It's like, no, I couldn't be around any living creature. And it's not like he got the Kinge on purpose. Like, someone who had the Kinge, he foolishly reached out and they touched him and he got the Kinge. And it's not till after that he found out what Kinge he had, the Kinge of death, So it's that sad situation of, it's not what you wanted, but it's just the circumstances he found himself in, Maybe they had brought that up before. I didn't remember that the Kinges could give you like rapid healing. Apparently, and it doesn't just apply to. I mean, I guess maybe because I know Talon kind of recovered pretty quickly from getting stabbed at the beginning of the series, but I'm like, maybe that has something to do with her Kinge. I don't know. I guess I assumed it was because she was a black blood and they had their physiology was a little bit different, so they just naturally heal fast. But it's like, no, she has a Kinge. Like I said, I don't remember them bringing it up, but it probably did come up in the past. And like I said, I just don't remember. But yeah, they make a whole point about that, because he's like, yeah, I've been stuck like that for 4 months. Give me some water, maybe it'll help, the Kinge like rapidly heal me. But they do finally have their father-daughter time, and obviously it's been a hard journey for her, cutting off her ears just so she can hide amongst human, not trying to be clever, just doing what she needed to survive, training, learning from anyone that she could along the way to learn how to fight, having lost her mom, her brother, her entire species, because she figured she was the only black blood, and in all honesty, she was the only black blood left in that world, So, and learning that hardship that she had to go through, for him, he regrets it. But I mean, it's like, he wishes he could have, been there, but obviously under the circumstances, he couldn't have been. We also learn something, I was kind of shocked by this information, was the Black Kinge and the White Kinge. If the person with the Black Kinge touches the White Kinge person, they both die. And I was like, oh, because and they kind of were going down the route of like give it to Ren, and I was like, oh man, this is going where I thought it would, because I figured it'd complicate things, because like the moment Ren got it, I figured she'd be kind of stuck with it. But to be fair, you can pass on a Kinge. But in this particular case, it's like he's like, no, because I'm not going to give the Kinge to some young lady for her to end up dying. And it also answered the question I had too: could you have multiple Kinges? You cannot. You can only have one Kinge at a time. So that answered. I mean, maybe that had been answered before now, but I didn't remember. But they definitely answered it in this episode if they hadn't answered it already about that. So, but he didn't want to give it to Ren because it's like you're basically it's a death sentence. It's a curse all on its own. So obviously he didn't want to pass that on. He also brought up the fact is, yes, you can get through someone who's controlled by the white Kinge, which we do learn that it is a little bit of control, but it's a combination of it being what Yavala wanted plus. Basically, it seems like it latched her need, what she wanted. It basically latched onto that, and her, the white Kinge just basically latching onto her mind to the point it's like she would never want to give it up. So I think the white Kinge just adds more fuel to that fire, So basically, no matter what. There was no winning to this situation. That was like the last hope of like, hey, but Ren was quickly like, all right, I recognize we're going to kill my mom, so that's just going to have to be it. Because she's tried again and again, and having been under the control of it and kind of, I think, seen firsthand and kind of realizing like, oh, this is what her mom wants, that there's no other means of stopping her. This is the only means. If we can't get her to give it up, which she won't, this is the only means. So, but initially, Zed was even saying, like, all right, give the Kinge to me. I will be the one who ends up doing it. But, like, it's like, no, for him, it's like, this is my duty. He doesn't want to give it to anyone else. He doesn't want to pass this on to anyone else because it's been his burden for, like I said, maybe, like, decades now. Like, at least 2 decades, maybe, at most. Because of that, he doesn't want to pass it on to anyone else. It has to be his burden because he's carried it the entire time. Meanwhile, all this is happening, we're still grieving Tobin's death, and obviously, as I thought, it does bring Rosalind and Felista together, and obviously it's like, oh, obviously he cared about you deeply. It's like the last thing he asked for was for me to use my power to protect you. It's like, yeah, but he ran off to you. He loved you. That's why he risked life and limb to save you. You were his love. And she's like, but Felicia's like, I'm being selfish because I'm not the only one that lost someone they loved the day you did too. And for her, it's like, I can't control this Kinge. I'm going to be of no use to you. And obviously, you have Yavala using Mutt to be the one that she speaks through, being like, oh, I don't have as much control as you think. Once again, we never got an answer, but it's like amongst anyone, I still don't understand why Mutt is the one that seems, I guess, once Yavala's not, I guess because we never get enough time for people to not just be driven by the white Kinge or even like the offsprings, because I think that was just a moment of Mutt being himself, because you even see him looking at that picture of Eleanor being like, it hurts so much, and it's like, so there's a part of Mutt that was still there. I don't know whether it's just him, he has such a natural strong will, but I guess it's because in that moment she's so split between other people that I guess maybe that's kind of a sign of her power not being fully controlling everyone, that it has some slight waning to it. I have no idea. It just seemed interesting that out of anyone, Mutt seemed like he was the most himself out of anybody. But regardless, speaking through him to be like, oh, like, she's going to lead you to your depths. The fact is that she is being selfish because she's just trying to stay in power. But obviously for Gwen, it's like, that's BS. Like, I've been through this, so I know what that is, to be a part of that hive mind. Also, it's a slow and painful death, as more and more of your life is being passed away as you pass that on. It's like, so you'd rather die, as yourself, ready to fight, surrender is not an option. But Gwen said all that to hype everybody up, but she lost faith herself because she was like, there's no winning this. The fact is, everyone's going to die, but Garrett's like, there has to be a way. We have to believe in Talon. But she's like, Talon has been gone for a while. She might be dead. It's like, no, we have to believe in her, But for, Gwen, it's like, I'm glad that you're here by my side during something like this, Garrett. So, crazy situation all around. Obviously, Yavala, is pushing through and they're not willing to surrender. So, a lot of fighting. And then Felista does her thing. she starts focusing it, taking people out one by one, and then eventually letting out the yell, taking out a whole bunch of but obviously, the White Kinge is, Yavala isn't affected. I was like, yeah. But then I was also worried. I was like, okay, please someone back her up to make sure she doesn't, and she got shot with an arrow. I was like, no. I was like, don't do this. You literally killed Tobin last episode. I'm like, are you literally going to kill Felicity too? I mean, you only brought her into the fold this season. Are we really going to kill her off now? I was like, don't do that. But part of me was almost thinking, well, maybe there'll be some beautiful-esque, like Romeo and Juliet element to it, like them both dying. Granted, different circumstances, but you get what I'm trying to go for. Like, I was like, no. But they're like, okay, she's holding on. You had Janzo sneaking away, but then we saw that Mutt had heard him or saw him. And so when he does eventually return, I'm like, you don't think... I was like, I don't know. He seems a little off. I was almost thinking like, okay, maybe Mutt followed him in. That's going to be the storyline. But then he picks up the rock. I was like, no. And then he hits Felicity. I was like, no. I was like, she was fine. I was scared. I was like, okay, she's dead. But then I was like, okay, Janzo's saying she's not. He'll just patch her up. Oh, good. He's back. Wait. I was like, someone stop him at the last second. No one did. And he hit her in the head. I was like, she's dead. I was like, that sucks. And for it to be Janzo to be the one that had done it too, I was like, no, that sucks so much. That's so unfair. So in that moment, it's like, no, full army go all the way through and things look bad. And it's like they're holding their own to a certain extent. But luckily, on the other side of things, you have everyone getting ready. It's like, all right, let's portal through. He's good again. But then, like, Corvin's like, I'm not going through because obviously Yavala's going to be there. But also, Death is going to be there too. So I'm going to stay here. But it's like, Zed being like, I promise I'm going to come back for you this time, brother. So they all leave. Obviously, Ren goes to Janzo. During everything, Garrett gets infected and you're like, oh dude, this does not look good at all. This is bad. You have Talon and her dad and Gwen, and obviously they're trying to find Yavala. Yavala sends her what's his face, Lakiri, which we have not seen them for a while. I guess she just kind of kept them in the background because I guess she's kind of got so many of them under control. But I don't know, because we haven't seen them out and about for a while. But then it's like, oh, using the Lakiri, it pins her dad to the wall. It's like, well, damn, she's worried about Ren, which I think shows that, despite it doesn't have a full control over her, the White Kinge, because there is enough of her. But you could also make the argument that's part of her selfish desire of being like trying to be the mother of like, no, you're all that I care about. I love you. But then obviously it being a means of waiting for Janzo to wake up and infect her. And it's like, oh yeah, because she's like, I don't have a mother. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, Mom, I didn't mean anything. She's like, I understand, Mike. And it's effed up because it's almost like you're mind controlling your daughter to be like, oh, Mom, you're the best. I didn't mean that. I love you. It's like, oh, I know you do, honey. And it's like, oh. So it's like, okay, so now that's happening. So it's like, okay, this is really, really bad. And obviously Gwen is trying to help Talon's dad. I was like, oh God, please don't accidentally touch him or something like that. But when it was all said and done, they couldn't get him free. But, it's so sad because for the moment it's passed on, he will die as well. So the Kinge is the only thing. Well, I guess it's more so like it with it, when it passes on, it literally takes the life of the person it was with. Because I was about to say, not unless you can make, maybe the argument could be like it's keeping him alive. But I think it's more so it takes his life with him as it's leaving. So as that's going down, like, he's saying goodbye to Talon, wishing he had more time with her, especially her. It's like she hated him for so long because she never knew why her dad wasn't in her life. It's just now she wishes she had time. And it's like finding out he was alive just to lose him again, just like that. Not to be, but was able to say what she had to say, for him to say what he had to say, wishing and knowing, wondering what his daughter was like. And who she grew up to be, and obviously it's like she has that warrior spirit, that fighting spirit, just like her mom, and Gwen taking the Black Kinge, because for her it's like we don't have any other choice, it has to be done, and it's like but there's no time to find any other way. And for Talon, it's like what this means, you'll die, but for her it's like at the end of the day it's worth it. You guys will find a way to go on without me, And it's like, you're my best friend. She's like, it's always been you and me against the world, ever since you stepped into this outpost, and it's just like, you're my best friend. I was like, dude, I was like, no. And so to get ready, they're going out there. Obviously, Zed, him and Garrett had their badass fight, but obviously Zed didn't go full out just because it's like, well, he could have, well, I did think about, well, I guess in a heat of battle, you don't really have time to really stop and focus on, using your Kenjin at that time. But nevertheless, when it's all said and done, though, I guess Yavala wanted him specifically, like, he's like, okay, go ahead and kill me, Garrett. He's like, no, not until Yavala gives me the order. So it's like, I was like, oh, is that Garrett doing that? It's like, oh, no, Yavala wants him to, because in particular, Zed is the one that's like, oh, you betrayed me. And it's like, I want you to realize you made a mistake. And then that look on her face when she realizes, like, wait, Gwen has it. And, Talon's opening a pack for her. The moment Gwen jumped out, I was like, please don't let someone else jump in the way. But Gwen grabs her and kills her, but obviously dies as well. I was like, it broke my heart. It's sad that, like, I guess to a certain extent, everyone's kind of, granted, she had her somewhat goodbyes with Tobin to a certain extent. She had her moments with Garrett, but it's so interesting because let's not forget she did die earlier this season because they brought her back with Two's ability. So it is interesting to think in the long run, but it's like, damn. And then we see that it is the end to the infection. Everyone is freed from it. But now it's the thing of like, now they have to go on without Gwen. I was like, wow, that actually shocked me. And like I said, I was tearing up too. I was like, damn, dude, not Gwen. Like, holy crap, dude. Because the moment that was happening too, I was like, now because of that, let's not forget 2 and 3 are still out there. So that presents an opportunity for the Prime Order to rise up without anyone to kind of question. And granted, the Outpost will still fight against it because it'll be, they'll carry on the torch that Gwen set up. But we also learned like, oh my God, Felicity's still alive. I'm like, yes, her Kench was keeping her alive. I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, that would have sucked. Granted, it doesn't matter because we still lost Gwen, but I was like, I think it's one of those things where you're like, geez, killing off a main character. You killed off character. You literally just killed Tobin last episode. Now you've killed, you kind of knew Yavala was going to go. But now you've killed her, Talon's dad and her best friend. And obviously it's a hard, this is his best, this is Garrett's best friend and the woman he, loved, still continue to love, and it's like, well, what do we do now, and it's like everyone's bowing down and Talon's like, what's this for? It's like, you're the leader, because let's not forget she's the one that kind of brought everyone together during this infection, so it's already kind of been cemented in people's mind. But it's like, no, their leader is dead, and it's like, and they're bowing to the new leader. So he bows, so does Ren and Zed, and then you have Janzo, Orlita, and Munt bowing as well. And it's just like, now she has to be the one to carry on the torch of, Gwen. Because obviously for her, Gwen wasn't a perfect leader, because even she was like, yeah, together you've been by my side through every mistake. So now she has to carry on that torch, because that's interesting enough. That's what she had said to Felicita is like, he wasn't telling you to specifically protect me, but more so the ideals of what I represented and how I wanted to reign. And now, ironically enough, Talon has to do it. And it's going to be interesting because she's got all these people around her. And I think one of those people will be Felicita, especially with the red Kenj and everything, especially if she can get that under control. Then we have the very ending where it's like, oh, there's 2 and 3, and it's like, what's this about? It's like, oh, the old, what was it, like the old gods are coming, the gods are coming back or something like that. I'm like, wait, what? And then like the Kenjas like were like, it seemed like at first I was like, wait, are the Kenjas like forming into one? Are they resurrecting something? It's like, no, they're resurrecting 2 things, and you're like, so what the hell are these things? Are these the things that Kenjas come from? Like maybe these were the things that maybe they originally had this power, but then like humans or Black Bloods or whatever. Because remember, they've talked about it a little bit, like about someone like, in season 1, they talked about the history between the Lakiri and the Black Bloods, like how that whole thing came to be. And I'm wondering, is that kind of what those are? Those kind of like Lakiri from like generations ago, whatever, they're demons, but it's like each one has a white Kenj, one has the black Kenj. So now it's like, Okay, so does that mean? And part of me was like, do you think that means that is there one representing each of the other Kinges as well? The other, so I don't know what to make of that. But it also means they have the same abilities as the original Kinge, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it manifests differently in them. Maybe like the one that can control people, maybe it doesn't work the same way. Maybe it's just about like the power that it had is gone, but maybe that's what that is. Maybe it's not even because remember the Kinge themselves are dead, but the energy of like these two being what they are, I guess it's almost like twins, kind of maybe these twin gods or these lovers, maybe like the one is death and one is being life, them kind of being in this circle and cycle. Maybe they're a couple, maybe they're siblings. We have no, maybe they have a deeper, whatever their deep connection is. So now we've got that to look forward to. But like I said, we have 2 and 3 who are out and about, which once again surprises me. I guess because they have the Kinges, it makes sense. But it's like they know so damn much about what's. I mean, at least they know somewhat about what's going on. Like it seemed like no one else knew that this was a thing, and it didn't seem like her dad was worried about this being a thing because I guess. Like no one knew these things must have been buried here for centuries, but it's like I guess when you are in control of everything, like the Prime Order is, maybe you get access to certain information. I mean, it's like the blacksmith learned so much about Black Bloods, but yeah, interesting. You know, heartbreaking turn of events. Very interesting setup for season 4. As I was saying, the Outpost has been renewed for a 4th season. And it's going to be interesting to see where this next season takes us because a lot of things are going to change, obviously, with Talon being in the lead. Because obviously she's used to kind of doing the more warrior thing, but now it's like you're going to be 100%. Because obviously she delegated a lot of that leadership stuff and kind of did her own thing, even when things were, people were under control and stuff. Once again, now I'm thinking about it in retrospect, it's like, oh yeah, both Tobin and Gwen are going now, and both of them were under control. Nevertheless. Also gotta think about that too, because like that means like Gertie and them who are under control, everyone in his kingdom, like eventually they're gonna fall under that fold because Fellista's people as well as his people are all gonna fold under like Talon as well. But it's like she's gonna have to learn how to like not just be the gun-ho warrior. Like she can't just handle things herself. She's got to delegate a lot of that, even more so now. Like she can't just go be the warrior. She's used to more fighting. Like that's kind of just she's had to fight to survive for 13 years. So that she's gonna have to dull that back and try and see, how to handle like the coming storm that is those two beings plus 2 and 3 potentially reviving the Prime Order and stuff like that. I mean, there were Prime Order soldiers there that were under control too. So I was like, what do they do? And they're going to be like, oh yeah, I guess we just submit to Talon. I'm sure there's going to be fights on that front. Obviously, Zed's going to go back to his brother. Brother's not in the best state of mind, so that's probably going to be continuously a thing, which is going to get complicated, let's not forget, because he's super obsessed and into Ren, but it's like, oh, Ren's with Janzo. So, like I said, also what role Fallista is going to play in this, Zed, Garrett. It's a lot of stuff to keep in mind. Like I said, I'm very excited to see what season 4 will have in store for us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.